This is the Book of Secrets, Trillium's journal, about her quest, which happens at the end of Child of Harmony. Chapter 2, Cold Like I. We set out upon our journey to unite HAVENBELL. We met the Spirit Warriors and the Rainbow Warrior. They are angels and do not communicate with words, but more like the Adrella do through thoughts. The Water Warrior prompted me to go to the Adrella Sea and help restructure the kingdom. Duran and I flew to Misty Falls and I made a camp. I was to go into the kingdom tomorrow. Over the fire I talked with him. I feel better now that we are away from the spirits. I had to force myself not to look at her. She has immense powers. She is the most powerful of the next dimension. We will never be like that, even in death. She holds secrets and knowledge that we cannot comprehend. She is the closest to the Great Spirit, and if you weren't the Child of Harmony, having an encounter like that would have killed you, or even worse, could have trapped you mentally between dimensions forever. It's nice not having that energy pulling at me. Agreed. I went to Coral Kingdom the next morning. It felt wonderful to be underwater again. As I approached, many Adrella greeted me. It felt much different in the kingdom without the darkness. They were now free to explore what used to be the Forbidden Sea. I entered the gates and 4 guards escorted me to the throne room. I swam to him and we touched foreheads. He led me to sit by his throne in the seat that used to belong to his mother long ago. The Water Warrior sent me here to help you. First, we will have congregation in the kingdom to unite you as king. Next, we must listen to the concerns of the Adrella and appoint 2 of them to become part of the council. I want to be one of them. Not yet. You are too young, Zed, but you will later. Right now, you need to rebuild. Did Father know these men? I motioned to his guards. Yes, his top command and best friends. Good. They will protect you and help you lead to honor Father. Hold ceremony tomorrow. Then afterward, creatures from all lands will clear the bodies of the fallen and take them to the mountains. Agreed? Agreed. A little girl who was standing by her mother approached Zed. Dear King, may we help you set up for tomorrow? April begged. April, we do not address the king. We are servants, not royalty. Her mother scorned. We are all Adrella. You are more than welcome to help. Thank you. April smiled, and they bowed low to Zed. You are on the right path, my brother. I pressed his forehead. I stayed the night in the Adrella Sea to catch the ceremony the next day. The sea was so vast that 2 different meetings were to take place. One meeting was to take place in the south and one in the north. I had never seen so many Adrella as I did that day. The thoughts were so distracting that I had to push them back. 12 gleaming guards swam down to the throne, and then Zed came out. Everybody waved their hands back and forth. Some kind of applause in the Adrella culture. I went with one of the guards up to Zed. He held a crown and addressed the crowd. Due to the loss of our King William Adrella, we now crown our new king, Zed Adrella. He presented him the crown. Everybody waved their hands again. Zed came before all. My youth may be troublesome, but fear not, I will not disappoint you. After such war, I assure you, now will be a time of light. We will be stronger by communicating with the other creatures. The elves need help on the water, as we need help on the earth. Josepharians within our armies makes us a great force indeed. Be kind to your neighbors. We defeated the dark ones, but we need not be dark to each other. Zed was smiling. For a moment, he looked older. Tomorrow we will be moving our fallen to the mountains. Work together. 2 have already been chosen to join the council. Take care of our kingdom and each other. The crowd dispersed, and he gave me a set of water blades. I thanked him, and we said our goodbyes. I was to travel north. I ate and I practiced with my new blades on the way to the fortress of Ferdor. When I approached, the gate began to slide away. I followed the guard that came before me. The dome confused me. Why is there light when all should be dark? You are keen but uninformed. The fairies gave us special crystals that generate the light. Interesting. He took me to the highest level of the dome. It looked above all levels of the dome. My amulet began to glow, and I had no idea why. The guard approached and held a glass plate in front of it. The glass amplified the light and summoned the Adrella of the dome. A man then placed a helmet on my head. Now think what you wish to say. Adrella of the Northern Sea, I am the Child of Harmony. I bear words of the council. Zedadrella has been crowned king. Tomorrow, all of Havenbell's creatures will move the fallen to the mountains. We must all work together, so please be kind to one another. Thank you." The man removed my helmet and the other withdrew the glass. I stayed the night in the northern sea and started my journey back to Misty Falls. When I got there, Duran was gone, and I instantly fell asleep. When I woke up, Duran was startled me because I had slept so hard. "Relax, child. Please call me Trillium, Duran." "As you like." I went and dressed and said hello to the horses. When I returned, I admitted my surprise to Duran. I left myself vulnerable. "I wouldn't let anything harm you. I was nearby." "I know you would protect me fiercely from harm, but it doesn't mean I like feeling weak, without defense." We sat by the crackling fire and watched the meat cook. It was divine, for I preferred this food better than the food of the sea. We flew to Fairy Island and met the new Queen Sira. She was young and pleasant and gave us food and medicine. We then headed north, and when we could see Orzo, I summoned Duran to fly close to me. "All I see is sand. Is that all it's made up of? Desert?" "No, just at first. The rest is not. Be lucky we have the horses, for we will not have to walk through it. Be warned, we are ogres, warriors. We are barbaric, and you—" "What?" "Must be well protected." "Why?" "You, dear, are an outlander. You also have power, and you are an elf. You are different. You are small. You are beautiful, and you are a woman. I will not let any harm come to you. I will protect you with my life." "Are we going to meet your father?" "Yes, I haven't seen him since I was first transformed. That was many summers ago when I lost my wife. I know you feel shamed about her death. Don't be. I blame neither you nor Jasha." I was relieved. I had thought about it often. "I'm sorry. I couldn't imagine." "Then don't. Let's go." We flew over the desert until the sand was no more. The cliffs we flew over were jagged and growing steeper. The wind picked up as we gained elevation. Ivory began to shake as we flew over the jagged canyons beneath us. "I don't like this," I complained. He threw a thick leather strap to me, which was attached to his horse, Eli, and got closer to him. I grabbed the end, and this made Ivory less nervous. We flew horse after horse, wizard after wizard, until we came upon the castle in the cliffs. It was massive. As we got closer, I could see Ortsons reacting to our arrival. Many had started to follow us. We landed on the third-level terrace away from the crowd, but soon large, tough men rushed upon us. Duran swept his arms swiftly and firmly, pushing me away from them as he placed himself in front of me. "Halt, for I am Duran Alasius," he shouted to the snarling men. They froze and bowed low to the ground, then got to their feet and made an X upon their chests, using their arms. A man approached us. "Welcome back, Prince Duran." "Thank you. Shall you show me to the stables?" Duran placed our horses in a large stable. There were other horses moving about. Duran clasped his hands like a cup, and a blue ball of light formed. He opened his arms and made a semicircle. It held the energy around them. Now that they were protected, I was not worried by it. "Stay close," he said as we headed down the hall. We came upon the greatest doors I had ever seen. 2 guards yanked the door open to reveal a giant throne room. As we walked up the aisle, I could feel the eyes of these people pierce right through me, like they had eyes of fire. I began to feel uncomfortable, and beads of sweat fell off my forehead. Duran's voice entered my mind, as clear as a bell. "Easy, you smell different to them. Calm down, let me do the speaking." A woman jumped off the throne and came to greet him. She was as large as all Ortsons, but she was extremely beautiful. "We didn't know if we would ever see you again. You have been gone a long time. You're dressed strangely. Please, brother, tell us where you've been." "Yes, son, please tell us where you have been." His sister looked at me curiously. He bowed to the king and I followed. His sister looked at me with curiosity. He bowed to the king and I followed. "Father, you know why I left. I wished to find Lar after my wife was killed. He was a part of the Dark Ones, and they and he are no longer. The wizards of Havenbell lifted the elemental sickness." "You killed Lar?" "No, Jack Falconberry killed Lar, but that doesn't mean my alibi. You knew what I wished to do." Yes, I knew what you wished to do, my son, but I never thought you would break the spell. Nor did I. Duran slipped me a quick glance. It doesn't matter much to me. He is not who I'd prefer to follow me. He never had wits about him but aggression. I wish my revenge. Do you know this Jonathan of Josephera? No, father, I do not know him. The king sighed. Besides, you did not love her. You merely enjoyed that woman. Son, maybe you are right when I wish you not to be. That's why you are fit to rule here. I still wonder how Josephera escaped his capture. Who is this strange woman? Who is this strange woman you've brought with you? Her name is Blackwood. She's an elven warrior. We are guardians of the spirit warriors. We must make treaty with the outlands of Havenbell. Will you not stay? Not at this time, but I shall return. You wish to make treaty with I? You may not wish to inform the kingdom about the elemental sickness. Not at this time. Ortza would cause much more trouble to Havenbell than they will do to us. What do you wish of me, then? Agree to bring no violence to Havenbell. You must pick one that must join the council and attend meetings. Make treaty, and form your kingdom not to harm any other creature, including the one you seek. And if I refuse, then the entire council will be against you, and you will fall to them. I will sign the treaty as long as no other creatures come sniffing around here without a good excuse. Agreed. Pick your chosen one tonight. His father signed our scroll and Duran placed it back into his cape. After that, we ate together. Most of the conversation was between Duran and his sister, Sasha. Duran insisted I sleep in the same room as he for protection. It looks different in here than it used to. You may dress from the wardrobe if you like. I dressed and Duran offered me the bed, but I refused and took the sofa, for I was much smaller than he. He got into his bed and took a small look at me and sighed. He laid upon his back looking at the ceiling, and for the first and last time, I saw a tear slip down his cheek. I fell into a deep sleep and had dreams about Duran. When I woke, I was excited and uncomfortable. Duran had heated me a bath and went to feed the horses. When I dressed, I met him there. That went well. I wasn't expecting your father to be so kind. Duran chuckled suddenly. He isn't, but that went better than I had expected, especially when it comes to your sweetheart's father. He may still try to seek him. Ortsons are vengeful and hold quite a grudge, whether it's worth it or not. Thank you, by the way. He didn't answer. How come you didn't tell them who I am? Is it because others fear it? Lady, you cannot scare an Ortson. You can only make them more interested, and that I do not want. I only wish to leave. Understood. It is only the whole of the council he fears. With the fairies they have more power. We ate alone and got prepared to leave. The Ortsons scurried around us, following us until we flew away. We took a swift supply break at Elkstaff. Nemi was now pregnant, and Kai and Jin were training to be wizards. Kai was training his mind, and Jin was training his powers and learning the bow and arrow as well. I watched him for a while. Let me give you a tip, my friend. You need a better bow. You're too good for that one. We flew to Clarion. It was the most beautiful landscape I had ever seen in Havenbell. There were many rivers, waterfalls, and bridges. We landed in an old city with crumbling ruins. That night I had another dream about Duran. It was more intense this time, and I began to wonder if I may be falling in love with him. When I awoke, the thoughts followed me, but I tried not to show my unease. He was already awake and preparing food. I began to think about Farisef and the brief time we were together. I really wish I could have stayed with him instead of go about this quest. Forget about the feather, child. It will slow you down. Don't mind dip on me. You must realize that you will not be able to see him for a long time. And when you do, he's bound to be married to a Josepherian. Why are you so cruel? I said shortly. I think you know why. You're better off not dwelling on him. I never did forget about Farisef, but I often felt foolish for not staying. We landed in a place called Einan. We could hear the noise from inside the houses as we walked down the cobblestone street, which was thick with fog. The fog began to thicken, and the centaurs started to shut their windows and lock their doors. I could hear hoofbeats, but before I could react, something whizzed by my head. Ivory whinnied. I pulled my bow and stood closer to her, aiming at the vague shadows around us. I could hear grunting and Duran's sword slicing the air. I shot at two of the shadows I could actually see. There were arrows being shot at me, but I couldn't see where they were coming from. "Kill them! Spare the horses!" one of them shouted. I crept low to stay out of sight and shot the figures around him. I could hear my arrows hitting the cobblestones. After several attempts, I finally got one of them down. My amulet began to glow, which made me the visible target. With the gleam, I could see them through the fog better and began laying them down fast. When they turned towards the amulet, Duran killed the two in front of him. He used his foot for leverage and pulled his sword out from the last attacker. "Quickly, take all they have but their armor." I nimbly took every weapon and every bag that they carried and gave them to Duran, who stashed them in the saddles. We mounted our horses and took to the sky. When we rose above the fog, I relaxed. Duran had taken a cut and now took time to dress it. "Duran, I am ashamed." "Why would you be ashamed?" "Because I felt nothing in that alley. I've always been able to sense things, and it's like I can't anymore." "Nonsense. Don't worry, child. You have me." I didn't want to think that if I was alone without him, I might really be in trouble. "You never used to call me child, Duran. I don't like it." "I wasn't allowed to then. I wasn't allowed to tell you anything, and I hated that." "Why?" "The council made me keep it a secret from you, and I cannot fight them, especially as an owl. I hated lying to you, keeping things from you. I wished to train you myself to use your powers. I taught you very little arts and sorcery. I wanted to teach them all to you to protect you." "You still can." "They won't let me. They shall kill me if I do." "Why?" "They don't know any of them. They do not know how to block nor fix those spells. That is why I wanted to teach you, so that you would be stronger than them. I didn't think until just then what the centaur could do to our horses. We must hide them well." "What would they do?" "Experiments and breeding, perhaps." "But the dark ones are gone, Duran." "There is much dark in even the good. Many creatures you will learn are dark inside." We put the horses inside a cave and filled it with hay and apples. Duran put the blue shield spell upon them. After we rested and ate, we started our slow descent down the mountainside. It was cold and began to snow. After several hours, we succeeded and returned to the valley floor. It was raining and cold as winter was in full swing. We passed many more waterfalls, bridges, and came to a place called Rarin. There was a huge windmill at the top of the town, surrounded by many small cottages. We followed the cobblestone road that ran through town. A couple children regarded our races and strange apparel. Their mother called for them to stay away, and both children galloped back towards the house and stood in the doorway staring. We continued on, and more centaur looked out or came out of their houses. None pulled weapons or shot arrows. They just kept their distance and remained quiet. Duran stopped me from walking. "Attention, inhabitants of Claran. We wish no harm upon you. The wizards of HAVENBELL wish to make an alliance with your king." Some of them crept closer. "The sickness has lifted. You can move about HAVENBELL, but HAVENBELL can now also move upon you. Please show us to your king so that we may hold counsel with him. Is there anyone that could put us up for the night? We will be gone soon after sunrise." A man of 35 summers came forward. "My name is Alan. You may stay with me upon the hill. I have a small farm. You can sleep in the barn. Nothing fancy, but I have room." "Thank you. You shall be rewarded for your generosity." "Follow me." Alan led us up the hill to his dwelling. He made us a fine dinner. He had no chairs at his table, so Duran cut some wood for us to use as seats. After his first swallow, Alan began to question us. "Is it true you killed the bandits of Barton?" "Is that what they called themselves?" Even though the question should have surprised even Duran, he remained cool and steady as usual. "The bandits have been moving through Claran, robbing and killing for several summers now. No one has been able to capture or kill them until you came along." "Where was the king's upper hand? Does he not have strong armies, or were they above the law?" "No, the king in fact does have strong armies, but the bandits had some kind of magic. They bring the fog as well. Without wizards or fairies, we could not defeat them. You must be wizards. I knew both of you were genuine. They told me you were coming." It was easy to figure that at the rate a centaur could run, that someone had beaten us to the nearest town and spread news about our arrival. When dinner was finished, we found out that this was not the case at all. Behind his cottage were many cages of birds. He showed them to us. I am a messenger. I notify other towns and cities by using these birds. That's how I knew you were coming. Could you send a message to the king that we wish to meet with him? I already have. He is expecting you. Excellent. Alan showed us to the barn and gave us a couple of quilts, which we added to our deer skins. I am sorry, for if it's too cold, you may come inside and sleep on the floor if you wish. Thank you. I think we'll make do. All right, but if you change your mind, good night. Good night. We made our bed and settled down, but I could not sleep. I finally got up to relieve myself. I could hear the coos of the birds from their cages. When I left the outhouse and back, I tapped lightly on Alan's back door. Too cold? He said groggily as he peeked out of the door at me. No, I was wondering if I could ask a favor of you. What is it? Could you send a message for me? Yes, come inside. He led me to his secretary and handed me a small piece of paper. Here, write your message on this. He handed me a small scroll. In the candlelight, I dipped his pen in the ink and wrote, Dear Phariseph, I am in the land of the centaur. Some treaties made, many to come. I miss you dearly and wish I would have stayed. Love, Trillium Blackwood. I rolled the scroll up and passed it to Alan. He placed it inside a capsule and attached it to the bird's ankle. He gently opened the bird's wings. Where to? Josephera. He tapped 3 times at the top of the left wing. This side is direction. Then he tapped it 3 times on the other wing. This is elevation. I thanked him for his troubles and went to sleep in the barn. The next day, Duran and I ate with Alan and loaded our packs for our journey. We were warned of not passing through the Grove of Souls, known to be haunted by spirits of old. Instead, we were urged to travel further west before turning north. We traveled down the road of ravens when I suddenly began to feel watched. Duran sensed this as well and pulled his weapon. We were being chased. We dashed into the woods and began to run. We could hear the clopping beats upon the road beside us. They were getting closer. We stayed in the woods, but as the centaur caught up with us, they too dispersed into the forest. I began to shoot as I ran. Duran began to climb the trees and I followed. Though a good idea at first, the centaurs closed in, and we were perched targets for their arrows and wouldn't be able to stay alive for long. Just then an invisible force knocked me over onto the ground. I screamed, but I felt a hand close over my mouth. I could feel the impact of the ground but felt no injury. I couldn't see anything, but I could smell spice and earth. I realized it was Duran who held me down. I could see nothing but hear the confused hoofbeats of our attackers as they circled and hollered to each other. Although I was terrified, I felt absolutely protected and safe with Duran. It excited me. One of the centaur blew a horn and I jumped. They went to the Grove of Souls. We shall not follow them. After the sounds disappeared, the blackness lifted, and I realized Duran had covered me with his cape. He looked pale in the face. How did you? I began to say, but Duran hushed me with a gesture. I should remain silent. I did, and we began to follow the road from 20 feet beside it, and began to turn north from which we were warned. Instead of questioning him, I understood that they would not follow us. The forest began to recede, and old oaks stood on barren plains. The fog began to form and stood 4 feet tall from the ground. We could see the tips of the old ruins and gravestones. I began to feel strange, and even though I heard no words, I could hear them in my mind. Beware of the man, the grove told me. Duran grabbed my shoulder and whispered to me, Trillium, I must put you under a spell. His expression was serious, his face still pale, and he had stopped calling me Trillium. Spirits can't hurt us. Not physically. The centaur know that spirits can alter your mind. They can drive you insane. I must, Trillium. I felt safe under his wisdom and gave him my consent. He grabbed my chin and looked in my eyes. He opened his other hand to reveal a pink powder that he blew into my eyes. It made my skin tingle, but it did not burn my eyes. I don't remember anything until the next day. I could smell sweet meat cooking on the fire and push the deerskins off of me. Duran smirked. He looked flesh color again. What happened back there? Nothing much. Did you have to carry me the entire way? Not at all. I put your mind to sleep, separated your body from your mind. You walked the entire way. I did? Yes, even asleep you are an excellent shot. He grinned and passed me some meat. I ate until I was satisfied. We were on the edge of the forest. Soon the road continued upon the grassy meadows. I could not see one tree up ahead. How did you hide us like that? Can you disappear like Wallace Locks? No, partly camouflage, mostly confusion. I told them not to see us. He tapped his temple. We followed the road through the valley until we began to see the houses in the outskirts of their kingdom. Most of the centaur just watched us quietly. We came upon the palace. The first room we entered had large wide hallways filled with ramps instead of stairs. They went up to other levels. There were paintings of royal ancestors and a few of some creatures that had made it to shore during the elemental sickness. The centaur in the palace eyed us eagerly as creatures they had never seen. They regarded us with curiosity and respect. We went through 7 different rooms and were descending. You're taking us the wrong way, Duran stated. We mean to wash and feed you first. You lie. At this they pulled their weapons, but I shot them all before any arrow reached Duran, as if my deep feelings had been increased to being overprotective of him as well. We dragged the 4 bodies into a small door that descended to the dungeon. Do you think the king is behind this? I asked. Absolutely. Before we could get out, 25 centaur came in after us bearing weapons. They surrounded us, and a Josepharian man came to Duran. We are here to speak to the king and make treaty. We are guardians of the spirit warriors. We must be released. Duran could be pretty persuasive, even more so. Yes? Even more so with his powers, but the man held strong. I work for the king. I have permission. We are not concerned about spirits and treaties. You have something we want. If you give it to us, we will make your treaty. If not, you die. Impossible. You will cause a very large war that may wipe out your entire race. Give to us your horses, or you shall die. We have no horses. We arrived on foot. Now 'tis you that lies. They were spotted in Einan when you killed the bandits of Barton. You arrived on winged horses. The man insisted. Duran lost his patience. What is your business in Claran, Feather? The man began to speak without expression. Experimentation. I bring Josepharians. We have not succeeded in breeding a centaur with wings. Now that we know that these flying horses exist, we may be able to finish our mission. You're going to take us to your king. We followed him up 10 levels to the top of the palace. There were 20 other centaur in the throne room. As we entered, Duran shouted, Greetings from the Outlands, which was pretty funny in hindsight, and Duran wasn't a funny guy. He spread the pink powder through the room with one sweep of his hand. Everyone fell silent. Duran, a man of few words, had even less to say this time. The meeting went well. Sign the treaty. The king signed. He rolled it back up and stuck it into his cloak. This man right here will enter our council. I will send him directions. He will meet with us and report to you the news of HAVENBELL, and report to us about Claran. Lead us out of here. You will not remember anything except that the meeting went well. There are no winged horses. Lead us to a secluded path out of town. When we left the palace, Duran was pale and not walking well. I helped him to the woods. Are you all right? I'm sick and drained of power. I hate centaur. I fed him and asked him what I was to do. There are no horses, Duran. Yes, there are, child. I couldn't block the spell from you. It will wear off. We hid them in Einan in the mountains. Are you sure? I'm not going to leave you here to die. Take half of this. He held up a potion and I swallowed half. He took the rest. You're too small to carry me. I can't use any more spells. Go as fast as you can and bring the horses here. What if they see them? It doesn't matter. Just get them here. I gave him one last look and started running. I had to go the long way to avoid the Grove of Souls. Then I remembered what they had told me. Beware of the man. I got to the horses that were joyous to see me. I ate and threw on a deer skin. We took to the sky with Eli behind me, and I tried to remember the quickest way back to him as the crow flies. When we found him, he was still pale. I made him eat and helped him upon his horse. We must rest at Misty Falls. When we landed, thoughts of Phariseth flooded my mind. I had almost died there, but he had saved me. How I missed him, and I wished he would be there, but he wasn't. Now I was in charge of caring for Duran. He didn't look well at all, and refused to eat when we arrived. Instead, I made a bed for him, and he slept for 2 days solid. He spoke in his sleep. I believe he dreamed about his wife because he whimpered, which was unusual of him. It's kind of scared me a little. He also spoke my name a couple times, but followed with no dialogue to understand anything. He also spoke about Orzo and tears. I wondered whose tears he was talking about, maybe even his own. When he woke, he actually smiled. "You must be unwell." He said nothing, just grinned and took the bowl of stew I offered. He ate slowly. "We shall have to stay here a week. I need to heal completely, and we need to restock our supplies. We have no choice but to go to Aztrak, but this is not the time I wish to do so. I know nothing of this land or its inhabitants. We may not be welcome. Have you ever heard anything about it from the Adrella?" "Not a thing, sorry. Feathers ever mention it?" "I remember not." "Then we must be prepared. Can you use that spell again if needed?" "I wish not to. It almost killed me." "Do you think the centaur will come for us again?" "The word will be spread about the horses again, but we will be long gone. I doubt they'll chase us because the agreement was signed and the council is behind us now. We must inform them about the interests they have for the horses. When we complete our quest, we must hide them and seal them in Fairy Island." The next few days I made a set of new arrows. I took my time and made 20 total. I killed a bear and dried meat to take with us. I dried the skin too, and now wore it as a cloak. I collected berries, but there were no vegetables. Duran hardly talked at this time. He was extremely intelligent, but non-emotional. Not very often did I see emotion from him. I wasn't sure if he was turbulent underneath. I'm sure he was at times, but he never showed it. Cool as can be, and I respected him for that. I had no problems with silence. Duran did most of the talking on our quests, and after Claire Anne, the peace was pleasant. Spending most of my life alone with only Duran to speak to, I did not mind the quiet. It reminded me of those times. Little did I know back then that Duran would turn into a man and help fight the Dark Ones. I also didn't know back then that I would find my mother alive and that my newly met father would die. A tear slid down my cheek as I gazed into the sea. I was still upset about his loss, but I had a family, which was more than I had before. I missed them and wanted to do a good job and succeed for them in HAVENBELL. I enjoyed the time here, for we would not know what we would soon experience. I fell asleep thinking about Phariseth, but I dreamed about Duran. The feelings were stronger. I woke up as if in a spell. I tried to think of Phariseth and why this was happening. Duran looked at me and I saw something strange. I saw that I was seeing him differently. I must have looked startled. I tried to push him away in my mind. Neither of us said a word. We flew above Aztrak, which mostly consisted of green plains. It was strange, and we saw no houses or structures. We found no other life forms. Perhaps no one inhabited Aztrak. We flew and camped in various places. We kept searching for signs of life, but found none. Then we flew over some very large crop fields. Somebody was using the land, but there weren't any barns or equipment around. We gathered that someone or something cultivated these fields, and we intended to find out whom. We spent 4 nights in the field. Duran began to teach me the ancient language in which I write my journey now. He taught, I practiced. We waited. We were to spend one last night waiting by the fields before we were to search the rest of Aztrak, before giving up and moving on to Phadia. During the last night when our lanterns were lit, we saw a disruption in the fields. We crept in closer. We hid behind the rows of grain and hoped that we could take a look at whoever caused the noise. We could only see 3 shadows in the distance. There was something there. When we got closer, 6 mechanical objects that seemed to fly without wings startled us. They weren't like any machine either of us had ever seen before. Each of them had what looked like 2 arms that came out from their sides. They formed 2 rows, 3 on each side. They hovered there for a moment. Then they started making a humming sound and began weaving in and out of each other. "What is that?" Duran held my shoulder to calm me. We watched the machine zigzag over the crops. They flew left and formed a stack until each 6 were vertical, and then they disappeared one at a time. Underground, Duran pointed his finger. When the next discs harvest, we ride them down. We ought to not surprise them. What if we get crushed? We have no choice. Out of the hole came 6 more discs. We got as close as we could and crouched down, waiting. They harvested the next field and flew above the hole. Now, Duran called, and we both jumped upon them. We rode the top disc of grain down the narrow hole. We were surprised when we saw 10 beings at the bottom, waiting for us. We did not pull our weapons, but remained frozen. The beings just stood still in a line. They were pale in color. They looked like humans, but with very pale eyes and fair hair. "Come," one of them said. "Are you going to harm us?" I asked. One spoke to the other in the ancient language, but I did not understand him. "You must speak to our king about your mission, and then you shall never return here." We both followed them quietly through corridor after corridor. These beings had created an entire city underground, and I wondered why. The possibility that they could not handle the sunlight crossed my mind due to their strange complexions. We came upon a large room with high ceilings. There were strange square boxes everywhere that shone with light. We approached a being that sat in a chair with his back to us. He seemed busy observing the weird gadgets in front of him. His chair swiveled, and he curiously observed us. "An elf from Phadia, and curious you are, maybe, in Ortson? I am Dinzer, and this is my city. Why, in fact, are you here?" "I am Duran of Ortso, and this is Trillium Blackwood, Child of Harmony. We are guardians of the spirit warriors. We have come to make an agreement with your land now that the elemental sickness has been lifted. We wish to recruit one of you to attend council meetings with our healers. Your intentions are good. We shall not make trouble to you, nor shall we fight for any of you. We stay down here where we belong. I give you a peace offering. Soon after, other beings will inhabit our surface. Whether you protect us or not, they will come. We don't much want them here, but if they get near our city or our fields, we will protect our fields. Are you agreed to this?" "Agreed. Will you choose a council member?" "None of us shall leave here, but I can give you something that will allow us to communicate." He turned around in his chair, and then he turned back again. He held his palm out and opened it. In his palm he held a small, shiny crystal. "This is a seeing tear. You may already know its purpose." "I know not," I responded, and Duran shook his head. Dinzer began to speak the ancient language to his next in command. They had a brief conversation in which sounded like an argument. I briefly understood a word. It was hymn. Duran was teaching me on how to write the symbols by teaching me the words in the alphabet. He had just barely spoken the words, and hymn was one of them. Duran could understand what they were saying and perhaps wanted to keep this a secret. Or maybe they knew that he could understand, and that was what the argument was about. Either way, Duran kept his cool as always. That's right, they know he understands them. "Take this to your temple, and during meetings you will be able to see me and speak to me. Be careful of its power and use it for nothing else. If abused, it can cause irreversible damage. Remember, we will not fight for you or join you upon the land." "Are you unable to bear sunlight?" I asked. "Yes, we can bear the light. We want no parts of magic, wizards, darkness, and interference. If there is a large war due to your own egos, we shall remain safe. Primitive creatures with primitive desires, and we will not be destroyed because of it." "Understood." Duran took the tear which Dinzer placed in a velvet black bag. Duran put it in his cape. He placed the scroll before Dinzer, and he signed it. "Tell the others of our resentments and agreements. Be safe on your journey and good luck." We were showed the way out and returned back to the surface where we ate and stayed another night. Strange folk down there. Smart folk down there. I wouldn't ever want to see what they could do if you pissed them off. "I didn't know you had a sense of humor." "Sometimes. Don't tell anyone," he smirked. "At least they don't want the horses if they know about them at all." "You know, Duran, I think they know about everything." He laughed. It was strange, but he had a great laugh. "I think you know more than I thought you knew." We packed up the following day and headed towards Phadia. We gave the horses and ourselves a rest, and when we landed on the beach, I asked Duran if we should rest again by Misty Falls, but he declined, instructing that we could reach the shores of Phthia sooner. I was overjoyed to see my grandmother. This would be the last piece before we tackled Drake. Ortza was scary, but I feared Drake even more. They were not very welcoming, and the terrain was horrible from what Jen and Kai had described. We landed, ate, and slept. I had another dream about Duran again. Duran was already awake. "What are you doing to me?" "Having bad dreams?" "No, just dreams." "How long has it been?" "How long has it been?" "Since what?" "How long have we been on this quest?" 1.5 summers now. "It doesn't seem that long, but I do miss my family, and it will be great to go to Phthia again." "You wish to run into the arms of a feather." "Maybe I do." "You don't understand." "What don't I understand?" "You just don't." We flew over northern Phthia, and though you could still tell the difference due to the smaller trees, it was no longer black. The earth had began to grow over where the fire had been. The wall that separated north and south had been removed. We approached Serenity City, and the elves were excited to see us. They led us to the castle, which had been rebuilt. I could hardly contain myself as we entered the throne room. I ran into my grandmother's arms. "It's so good to see you, Trillium. How is your journey?" "We only have one treaty left in Drake." "We'll get some long-needed rest and gather your supplies. We will have a festival tomorrow if you are up to it by then." "I'm sure I will be." "Duran, thank you for protecting Trillium. Take a long rest. My daughter Jacia sends her love to both of you." After dinner, my grandmother pulled me aside. "Does he act strange?" "Who, Duran? He is strange all of the time." "I don't know. Are you sure he's all right? I mean, do you trust him?" "Yes, of course. He would never harm me." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely." "I want you to have this anyway." "That's pretty." She slipped a silver ring with a green stone on my finger. "It's for protection, and Drake, my dear, will be very dangerous." I slept in my own room on a huge soft bed. The next day I washed and was dressed in a green elven dress with a dark green cape and sandals. There were decorations and many tables loaded with food. A band of musicians played traditional elven songs. After eating, I drank a glass of wine and finally accepted a dance from an elf. My mother was happy at this, for she wished I would stay in Phthia forever. I was clumsy, but the man just guided me along gracefully. He smelled good, but it was a smell I was not used to. We chatted a little, and when I looked over my shoulder, I caught Duran looking at me while he sipped his ale. He looked away with no emotion, and I wondered what he really felt for me. When the dance was over, Grandmother approached me. "What do you think of him? Handsome, eh?" "Yeah, I guess." "He's a baron." "Oh." "It's that feather, isn't it, Farisef?" "Yes, I miss him." "Your heart beats for no other, I see." "I like him. He's smart and brave." "Yes, he is." I wondered, though, was I secretly falling for Duran? He possessed my dreams. Was he jealous when he saw me dancing with the Baron? Did he think I looked nice in my dress, or neither? It was hard to tell with him, so for good measure I walked up to him. "Would you dance with me?" He just waved his hand to answer me. "Come on, Duran. We are in Phthia. A little fun won't kill you." He smirked, then took my hand. He danced tall and proper, guiding me along. I could smell his sweet scent, and he made me feel important. When the dance was over, we continued to drink and talk with my grandmother. Once again I slept hard, and because of the wine, I had no dreams. We stayed a week and supplied our food. She gave me a set of 10 silver arrows. I asked her to send a message to Farisef for me, which she promised to do. When we were ready, we set out for Drake. I mentioned to Duran that Jen and Kai should have been the ones to come to Drake. Their odds are far worse than ours. They left their people. If they were to return, they would be killed. They will not be happy to see us, yet our mission must be completed. We are keen and both hold magic. We are the only ones able to do this task. We flew until we reached the shores of Drake. We were unable to find a cave or shelter for our horses. It wasn't too bad because most Drakens stayed inside the city, and Adrella couldn't walk on land. For everyone else, though, Duran cast the spell around them, and we started up the rocks. It was quite unpleasant. It was very unpleasant, as our ropes hardly worked unless it caught just right between the cracks. Most of the time it slid off and we had to climb with our hands. It was easier for me to pull myself up because I was much lighter, but since my arms and legs were shorter than Duran's, I had a harder time reaching for a good grip. We had to drink water and rest continuously. Once we thought we had made good distance, beat up and tired, we realized we hadn't gotten far at all and still had the majority of the distance to go. At one point we found a nice ledge we could both rest on. We ate and slept. When I woke up, Duran had a real smile on his face. "What? You were snoring." "Was I?" He chuckled. We started up again, and after 3 nights we finally made it to the crest. It was not as exciting as we had hoped for what lay in front of us was now a large desert of sand dunes for as far as the eye could see in all directions. "Damn, why didn't we just bring the horses over this?" "They are much safer where they are, and their lives are much more important than ours. No offense." "None taken." I stuck my tongue out at him. We trudged for miles and miles through the sand, drinking water and walking for hours. I envied Duran for having a staff. 3 legs were better than 2 out here. For 7 days we hiked in the heat until we finally cleared the sand. The terrain changed and there were scatterings of trees and short grass. We entered the beginning of town. The women and children ran inside for shelter while the men grabbed their spears and began to shout, "Outlanders! Outlanders!" They weren't sure who we were or what we may be capable of. Soon after they began following us, a loud horn sounded from a watchtower, and then another further away, and then another. They were sure aware of us now. One huge fellow approached Duran and demanded what we were doing in his land. "I am Duran Alasius, Prince of Ortso. This is Trillian Blackwood, the child of Harmony." His eyes grew wide. "You're the half-breed?" "Aye, we are guardians of the spirit warriors, and we are here to speak to your king about the dealings of HAVENBELL. Will you guide us to him?" I smiled politely, thanking Duran for letting me talk, though he was far better at it than I. "I doubt he wants to deal with HAVENBELL at all, so you best expect that. I'm not sure if what you say is true. I will take you there, but if you hurt any of our people, most of all our king, we shall attack you. Once you speak to him, he will decide whether you live or die." Agreed. The big guy led us, but the warriors surrounded us as we walked. It took 4 days of traveling before we came to the palace. Duran slept close to me, and the warriors slept around us. One of them was always awake. Duran filled every dream, and when I woke up from these, I began to admit I was extremely fascinated by him. The palace was made of many levels and many rope bridges. Another horn blew as we approached, and many drakens began to come out to get a look. They all lined up upon all levels of the castle. The big guys talked to the guards who suspiciously opened the door and let us in. It was a plain interior compared to the other kingdoms. There were some old-looking pottery baskets and a large assortment of spears. There were paintings of drakens mostly, and one of a human king who held a scepter. King Darien Zane, Jade's father, before the split, before he was poisoned. We were led into a large room with 4 thrones, which the king was seated. 4 guards stood beside him, and 10 guards stood near us. We knelt before him. "Some trouble you have endured just to get here, so I assume your mission must be important. I am Zareen. I am willing to hear your stories, Outlanders. I am Duran, and this is Trillian. We mean no harm to any of you. You must have heard by now that the Dark Ones have been defeated, and the elemental sickness has been lifted." "Aye, bad news that is to us. We don't want intruders here, and we don't want to join the Outlands." "We understand this and your culture. Would you be willing to sign an agreement with the Wizards of HAVENBELL, agreeing not to attack any of our lands? If you do, we will fight against you. If any of us enters your land, you have the right to fight as well. We come for truce and peace now that the sickness is gone. Would you agree to these conditions?" "Sounds fair. Just warn them that we do not like visitors." "Agreed. We wish for a Draken to join our council. Pick your most trusted servant to attend our meetings in Elkstaff. That way you will know what is happening in the Outlands." "There's just one problem with that," Zareen snapped. "Should this appointed one come back from the Outlands and spread stories around, it will tempt my people to leave here, and I want none to leave. If they do, I don't want them back dragging these other customs into our land. I wish for none to leave. Pick someone you trust, and if he talks, kill him." Zareen laughed. I was surprised at Duran. I like the way you think, Outlander. Agreed. Then the treaty was signed just like that. It had been much easier than expected. We were invited to a large meal. It was all very tasty. Duran and I shared a simple room with a large bed. I was given a Draken nightgown that I changed into. I began to miss Farisef, but I lay next to Duran and looked him in the eye. He looked at my nightgown and smiled. I like those clothes, he said, without emotion. Perhaps as easy as he could read my mind, he must have felt my longing for him, my burning for him. I studied his beautiful face without saying a word, and for a minute I thought about kissing his lips. Then Farisef, my only lover, nudged in on my thought. Forget the feather, Duran hissed. I doubt he waits for you. He is nothing, don't you see? He is powerless, don't you see? He obviously has a power over me you can't stand. He doesn't care for you like I. He never will. We belong together, Trillium. Do you know what our passion and partnership could do for HAVENBELL? Do you? He asked angrily. No, I don't. Explain this to me. I would give you the best life there is. I would care and love for you like no other. Our children would be so powerful that they may even take power of the entire land. I know you want me, Trillium. Give in to it. It's our fate. I said nothing, for I didn't know what to feel. Then he got angry. You must give yourself to me. I demand it. I can't wait much longer. Why didn't you take it while I was under a spell in the Grove of Souls? I want your core love. I want you to give it to me willingly, but I'm impatient now. Give it to me. I know you want to. I don't want to spell you, but I will if you refuse. I jumped up and aimed my bow at him. Why, Duran? Because I need your light. I need your light because I am empty. I died a long time ago. You can choose to live or die inside. You can choose to love. The only love I feel is what I feel for you. Everything else I feel is disdain and despair, cold like I. Right then I saw a crack through the spell he had me under for so long. I saw in his mind his motives. It wasn't me he wished to harm at all. He loved me passionately, and I also felt the same. I saw into his mind. I saw what he planned to do. You need my power. You mean to slaughter all of them like you did the Dark Elves in Phadia. You wish to kill all of them for a scepter? Why? Because with the scepter I will rule all creatures, all kingdoms, and all lands. You want that badly, don't you? I'm sorry, Trillium. I can't wait for you any longer. I must take it. I slowly put my bow down and held my arms out to him. Come, Duran. He embraced me, and I felt a huge rush of power and energy go through me. I did long for him. He had held his feelings back for a long time, and I felt it surge through me. I collected the energy, and when I felt as if I was dizzy, I turned it on him. I turned his own power upon him, and in one swift gust, I knocked him off of the terrace balcony onto the jagged rocks below. I heard him scream on his way down. In the pale moonlight of a sliver moon, I killed my best friend. I will dispose of this book into the Adrella Sea.